Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chapter 14, where we are talking about plants. Last time we talked about some characteristics. This time we are specifically going to talk about plant classification, although we mentioned that a little bit last time. Okay, first off, we talked about non-vascular plants. Remember, these are plants that don't have internal passageways, so they have to be very small. And you can see from the pictures that they are indeed very small. The only three groups of plants are mosses, hornworts, which you can see kind of have the spiky looking flowery things, and you have what are called liverworts because somebody got in their head that the leaves are shaped like a liver, if you can believe that. Okay, they are all tiny little things, and they are primarily things that are thought of as ground cover. They are short, low to the ground. They must be in damp locations, otherwise they can't get enough moisture because remember, everything has to go by diffusion. There is no physical transport within the plant other than diffusion. It just spreads. Okay, however, the other group we didn't really talk about other than the fact that it has vascular tissue. It has the passageways internally. Now, this group of vascular plants is actually divided up into different groups. And that is primarily based on how they reproduce. And the first group is one that is seedless. These reproduce by spores instead of seeds. And you've probably seen some of these. You probably just didn't think much of it. The first group are the ferns. And you're familiar with what they look like going through the woods and things. On the bottom of the leaves, or the fronds actually, they have these little black things. These are actually called sori. Each one is a sorus, S-O-R-U-S, and they're what will release the spores for the ferns. And there are different types of ferns. There isn't just one type. So realize that these are groups of plants, not just specific individual plants. The second group of seedless plants are kind of strange to this area, unless you live near water. These are referred to as horsetails, and you can see they look a lot like reeds or bamboo. What's interesting, however, is the top part of the plant, the part that actually is where it reproduces. That part was actually used by early pioneers as a scrub brush because it has silica embedded in its structure like sand. So it's really, really hard, and they would cut these off and they would use them for cleaning and scrubbing. I'm guessing a sponge probably works just fine right now. Okay, the third group are called whisker ferns, and you can see they look a lot different than just the regular ferns. They're more stringy, less leafy, and they have those little reproductive balls on them part of the time. And the last group are the club mosses. There's two different kinds, and you can see that they look, in the top version, almost like little pine plants that are having these things sticking up from them. And those things sticking up are what are the reproductive structures. Okay, they don't all look like that. You can see the club moss on the bottom looks quite different. It looks more leafy with broad leaves. But they are both club mosses, and it has to do with the reproductive structures. Okay, so these plants, although they are plants, do not reproduce by seeds. They reproduce using spores. Now, the next group you are definitely more familiar with, and that is the Gymnosperms. Gymnosperm literally means naked seeds, gymno, naked, sperm, seed. And all of these, except for the ginkgo, use cones to reproduce. And the ginkgo, you can see, has kind of these, they're officially fruit, but they're not really. Um, and there's some other reasons that they're included in with the gymnosperms. But generally what you'll see is cones, not other structures. And they do have seeds inside. And what you might want to think of when it comes to the gymnosperms is that they don't have really much surrounding their seeds. When you think of a cone, if you've ever played with one, the seeds are right there. They just fall out. It's almost like a pocket. And when they open up and they're upside down, the seeds just fall. You will see the pine trees. You will see the cycads around here. They look kind of like pine trees that are stuck on the ground instead of up in a tree. They don't grow everywhere, and they're not as common as pine trees. And there's lots of different cycads and lots of different types of pines. However, there is only one known type of ginkgo still existing. The way you can tell a ginkgo is especially by its leaves. They have that distinctive fan-shaped leaves. And they're also unique in that they're separate male and female plants. So one tree will be female, and that's what you see pictured here because it has the fruit, and another plant will be male. The problem being is part of the reason they're going out of popularity and they're tending to disappear even still is because the female plants, you know, the ones that make the seeds, the fruit or the structure holding the seeds smells like rotten meat. It gets pollinated by flies instead of bumblebees. So not too many people want to have these ginkgos in their yard smelling like rotten fruit. Okay? But they do have separate male and female. Lots of pines are male and female at the same time. What you'll have is up high in the tree, you will have the male part of the plant, and it releases the pollen, makes everything turn yellow seasonally. And the bottom part of the tree will have what are called seed cones, and these are the ones that are sticky, and the pollen will stick to those, and that's actually where the seeds are made. That's the female part of the plant. Okay? Now, the last group of vascular plants are what are called angiosperms. This means covered seeds. Okay? What you will see with these is flowers and fruit. This is the largest group of plants. There are too many to even really give a representation on this slide. All of the grasses have flowers and seeds. That would include things like corn and the grass that's in your yard. It includes all of the flowering trees like cherry trees and apple trees, dogwoods, all of the different types of flowers, whether they live in the water, whether they're, single flower, compound flowers, and so on. All the different things that qualify as fruit, whether they are sweet or not, including things like zucchini and cucumbers, tomatoes, all of those things that have seeds inside. Okay, that's not a hard case. If it has a soft case around it, whether it's dry like a grass or a grain, or whether it's fleshy like an apple or an orange, every single one of those are angiosperms, the covered seeds. So primarily what you want to think of is most everything. Okay, so pine trees, no. Cycads, no. The ginkgo, no. All the things that have spores, no. Everything else, angiosperms. So it is definitely the largest group. and we will talk more about plants next time.